back nine of the first round at Cosmic Tranquilcyon. First round here is at Tranquility Trails. This tournament is run and sponsored by Cosmic Disc Golf. Thank you to them, and thank you to our Patreon family. If you're interested in becoming part of our Patreon family, you can support us for as little as $2. I'm Dave, here to bring you the conclusion of this first round. If you haven't seen the front nine, go check it out, but we are going to get going here on the back nine, starting off with hole 10. It's a par 4, 414 feet. Tight gap off the tee, pretty much just a placement shot. Get through clean to anywhere around here, and then you'll have a nice approach to a slanted, sloping away green with out of bounds behind and to the left. So speed control obviously important. Getting us started on this back nine will be Chris Villa. Getting through the gap very clean, little bit of a turn and narrowly avoiding that out of bounds on the left side. It really comes in quick once you get up there. Brandon going a bit higher, a little bit flippier of a disc, and lands in that perfect landing zone. Mitchel Wileczek up next, showing us the forehand. He will be the only one throwing forehands on pretty much this entire round. And turns it over. That landed just on the wrong side of that out of bounds line. Oh, and Mike catching a tree. And that also went out of bounds. Short par 4, but the out of bounds line certainly makes it a difficult hole. And Mike throwing the backhand turnover. Looked like it was over the out of bounds the entire way, but makes it back in last minute. And Brandon catching a tree but kicking right. So fortunate not to go same fate as Mitchell and Mike. So Mitchell going another forehand flex line. And good tree. Parks him right under the basket. So after that, that'll be a nice par save. And Chris got very far up there. He's looking at the basket. Sloping away with out of bounds. Probably not trying to run it. But needs to sit. Alright, that should be fine. And Mike also just laying up his third shot. Excuse me, his fourth shot with the out of bounds. Oh, and Brandon giving a good bid. Nice floaty. No, it wasn't going to go anywhere afterwards. So Mitchell able to save the par after going out of bounds. Mike went out of bounds much earlier. Gets the bogey. And Chris with the birdie. Now tying Brandon for the lead. And as Brandon taps in his par, we move over to maybe the shortest par 4 that we've ever filmed. 379 feet, but that does not mean it is easy. You have to hit some gaps early, find this landing zone around here, and your second shot, you need to find a way to maneuver through this jungle of trees to another sloping away green with out of bounds all the way around it on the left and far side. So really much a placement shot off the tee. You see Chris barely throwing that down the fairway, but that still should be fine. Just really need to get there clean because you're not wanting to approach that clump of trees by the green from any bit of distance. So Chris and Brandon playing it very well. Mitchell going forehand flex line, maybe a little too stable. Should be right over there. It's not too thick of a rough. I'll probably have a line up there, and that was decent distance, so. And Ike throwing a huge shot. Pass catch cam operator Wendy. So he should have a very easy up and down, if not a look at it for Eagle. And Chris knew that was heading for the tree all the time. Luckily didn't kick far enough to go out of bounds. The out of bounds is a little bit more forgiving here in the fairway. It comes into play more by the green than the last hole. Brandon going big turnover to make sure he doesn't bring that out of bounds into play. Mitchell going to a knee here, but as we see, quite good distance. And that looked like it, yeah, right by the basket, so should have a putt at it for his birdie. Ooh, Chris just low. Almost got it from 70 or 80 feet away. Mike pretty close, just looking to lay it up. Sit. Oh, then he's to sit down. Oh, it's right on the line. I think he was inbounds, saving him that stroke, but that was a very unfortunate roll after being so close. Easy layup for par, and really nothing he did wrong. Hit the ground flat, but the disc decided to just bounce up and roll. So that birdie turned into a bogey very quickly for Mike. And now Mitchell and Brandon with the 2 birdies. So it seems like these guys are really taking turns back and forth, deciding who gets birdies, who gets pars or bogeys. Sorry, that was only just a par for Mike, so luckily was able to save that. And Chris unhappy with the par on that hole, but we'll move over to hole 12, par 3, 281 feet. No mandos, but essentially plays as a quadruple mando, throwing through the gap. Really the only way you can go. Straight with a little bit of fade at the end will get you going towards this basket, but it's hard to get it real close because of the low ceiling and the sandy ground. So the skip play doesn't really come into play. So you really have to get it perfect to get it all the way up there. And Brandon just maybe catching those leaves slowed it down just a little bit too much. A little bit inside for Mitchell, but luckily landing right back in the middle of the fairway. Chris, little wide, but great shot. A little bit of a skip and a roll up to probably no more than 10 feet. That's how you got to do it. Mike, maybe a little bit of an early release. Made it through the gap, but low left in that second clumping of bushes on the left side. Oh, and some great tree love for Mitchell. That will be a good par save for him. Ooh, almost getting the birdie from way out of position. Good bid for Mike. Oh, and Brandon, again, 2 leaves on this hole. Really screwed up. First throw, made a little short. And then obviously we just saw that putt, giving him just a bit too much fade on that putt to miss. Great hole for Chris. Again, going back and forth with Brandon. Trading birdies and pars every hole. Still tied for the lead. So Chris with the only birdie on that hole. And we'll see what happens on hole 13, par 3, 237 feet. Pretty much got to hit one of these small gaps here on this low ceiling, and the basket is another 70 to 80 feet back into the woods. So really got to throw a laser in there and use the ground to try to get as far up in there as you can. Catch any trees, you're probably going to fall short, like I said, 70 to 80 feet. Try to save a birdie, if not, just tap in your par. Chris doing just that. Gets just past that last little tree you want to get to have a 15, 18 footer. See the graphic down below. HyzerMedia does have an Instagram. We post reels and little short clips of all of our tournaments and lots of other stuff, updates of what we're doing. If you want to check that out, we are at Hyzer_media. Follow us on Instagram if you want to see any of that. Brandon and Mitchell, a little bit right, a little bit left. And Mike right down the middle. A little bit short of that tree you're trying to get through. Let's see what he has of a putt left. Probably more like 25 or 30. And great approach for Brandon. He's just at that threshold too. He should have a good chance at saving that par. And great little skip shot for Mitchell, getting right up next to the basket. Oh, and another unfortunate roll. Mike not having the best of luck today. Really not playing that bad. He was, I think, as low as 5 under. And hasn't been able to continue that trend. So now Chris has the solo lead at 7 under through 13 holes. Again, we mentioned in the front 9, this course was the first course played at the New Jersey State Championships, and it was torn up. A couple 15 downs. Most likely a course record, I'm not exactly sure, but definitely a scoreable course. I've never been out here. It is definitely a fun course for all levels, but these pros can certainly birdie just about every hole, including this one. Hole 14, par 4, 462 feet. Got to get out the gap into the field. The uphill is pretty much the hardest part of your tee shot to miss. Then once you get out there, probably just a backhand turnover for these guys. Forehand for Mitchell. Getting into the green and tapping your birdie. Chris getting it out there, but really not that big a deal. Like I said, tall grass can inhibit your swing, but this hole's pretty short, so he'll have a decent look. And Brandon's skipping quite a bit in that. It's the shorter grass, but not super short. You'd think it would have caught a little bit more. Oh, and Mitchell getting a strange, huge reaction off of that tree. And even though he missed the gap, he's still pretty much in perfect position. And Mike a little bit further, but really anything out in this field, these guys should all be able to get up and down. Looks like maybe the wind took that one a little bit further right than Mike intended. Getting caught up in those woods. And Mitchell getting a little lucky, kicking through there. That was heading right for the basket. Last little tree to miss. And Brandon also, does get through though. I believe that was Mike's shot. Oh, so Mike was quite a bit out of position, deep into the woods, trying to pitch up gets caught and then fires one in there to save his par. I think a little bit of frustration at the luck he's been getting so far in this round, but still playing well enough to hold where he is for the moment. As we see birdies for the other three of these guys. 14 was playing as the second easiest hole today, tied with hole 6. As we move over to hole 15, par 4, 609 feet. Nothing in the way but the short tee pad. Long grass not out of bounds, and the fairway gets wider as you get closer to the basket. So get some distance off your first shot. Probably a little bit less for your second shot, and tap in your birdie. But of course, easier said than done. You have to land it in the short grass to give yourself a good approach. And Chris, again, turning over these bigger shots. He's in the tall grass. Not a penalty stroke, but again, not the easiest footing. Probably not clean swing as you pull through. And Brandon with a huge shot. Turn the catch cam around is always a good thing on par 4s. Mitchell going with a similar line. Oh, and that just dropped out of the air. Definitely a little breezy out here in the field. Mike going with big flex line. Coming back and perfect shot right to the middle. Just over 600 feet. This hole really isn't about distance, even though it is, I believe, the second longest hole. Second or third longest hole on the course. Most players, especially pro players, can throw 300 plus feet. So if you can just throw something straight, do the same thing again. In theory, it's that easy. But obviously in practice, it's a little bit different. Especially because we see Chris throw it 50 feet into the long grass and then absolutely park it. So there's plenty of different ways to play this hole.
Oh no.
Brandon leaving that quite a bit short. And now this will be Mitchell for his long birdie attempt. Oh, and he nails it. Great shot by Mitchell. Bringing him to 4 down. Oh, Mike. Almost playing this hole perfectly. Just needed to have that putt be a little bit higher. Oh, no. Low right spit out for Brandon. That was for him to save his par. Great approach for Chris, setting up him for a tap-in birdie. But unfortunate bogey for Brandon. So 2-stroke swing for the lead. Chris now up by 3 with 3 to go. Obviously this is round 1 of 2, so lots of stuff could happen, but we'll see how this first round plays out. This hole, hole 16, is basically the short version of hole 15. Par 3, 246 feet. Whatever you did on your first shot, do it on your second shot, and you should be alright. That is to say, if you did the right thing on the last hole. Whereas, as I say that, Chris does do the same thing, but he birdied it from their last hole, so we'll see if he can do that. Mitchell with a great little flex line, getting it right under the basket. Mike with a big spike hyzer. And, yep, that'll do too. Probably 10 feet from the basket. Brandon also going with that flex line. Kind of flip up the flat, but that will work as well. So Chris on the long grass has the longest look at it. Oh, looked like it never quite got the height out of his hand. The rest of these guys throwing great shots, pretty much parking on the basket. You saw the graphic down below, our Patreon information. We post the highlights of every tournament round we cover before the full coverage comes out over on our Patreon, so we'd like to see that and a lot of other benefits that we have, including just supporting HyzerMedia. You can do so at patreon.com/HyzerMedia, so go check that out. Back over on hole 16, we have 3 birdies, and Chris with the par. Brandon cutting the lead down to 2. Hole 17, par 3, 229 feet. Just have to hit this gap right here on a backhand hyzer, and you should just skip up to the basket. Thick, rough, long, so certainly don't want to try to go too far, but that's actually hard to do if you're hitting it through the gap. A little skip shot off the ground could work as well. And just a bit too inside for Mitchell. It is kind of open over there, but you're not going to be going towards the basket if you're that way. This is looking more like it. Oh, just narrowly missing the last tree. Brandon getting through, but the branches certainly slowed him down. He'll have a long look at it. And Chris also catching that same tree that Mike did. So Mitchell, see, it is open over there. And he left a little meat on the bone from the knee, trying not to go too far, using the ground to slow it down, just catches the grass too quickly. And Chris, an inch from getting it from a long ways away. Brandon with the best look at it. Oh, just a bit too much. Hyzer bringing him away from the chains. Oh, and sorry, Mike was actually a couple steps inside Brandon. He caught that last tree, whereas Brandon kind of just snuck through the branches, but still had probably a similar look. Also unable to capitalize, so all these guys giving it good bids. But looking like we will have a par frame on hole 17, so nothing changing scores-wise going into the last hole here at Tranquility Woods. And we do still have an entire second round over at Halcyon Woods. This is Tranquility Trails, excuse me. Halcyon Woods will be next, so be sure to check that out, coming out tomorrow. For now, we will finish up this round here at hole 18, par 4, 417 feet. Got to choose left or right off the tee, trying to just get some distance off of the tee, setting yourself up a second shot to get into this gauntlet of small, skinny trees. Very thick, rough on the left side all the way down. Past and behind the basket, also very thick, so try to keep it in the short grass. And Mitchell just a bit on the edge of the fairway. Looks like Mike's setting up one of his rollers. Not a lot of opportunities. If you've seen him before, he likes to throw rollers everywhere he can, but this is his first and probably the last for the round. There is a bit of a backdoor gap, not sure exactly where that ended up, but it looked like the wind kind of just took that and turned it right. So Brandon, the first one to get clean in the middle of the fairway, that should be fine. Pretty much if you're out there, you'll have something. Chris just need to miss that last tree. Fortunate to just be on the edge. Big reach out. Hyzer hoping to crash down. There it is. And oh, not quite close to the basket. Probably outside of the circle. Maybe circle's edge. Brandon with the big turnover. Ooh, giving the basket a scare. Hopefully didn't go too far into that thick stuff. And with Mitchell's forehand, this actually isn't a bad position for him. Leaning out. Should just be able to give a little flex and get in there. Oh, that's a bit too much flex. Actually takes the exit path to go back to the parking lot. But that's probably 50 or 60 feet from there to the basket. And Mike able to spike Hyzer it right next to the basket. So he got quite a bit of distance even though he was far right side. And took advantage of it. So the roller kind of got took away from the win, but he makes it work. Oh, Chris left side. So he will be most likely finishing this round at 9 down. Oh, and through a viney, small, tight gap from the ground. Brandon able to bring it within 1. Mitchell that close. Good save, honestly, after going so long. And good rebound. Couple birdies, last couple holes for Mike. Started off hot. Took a little time to get going again, but he's still doing fairly well. So we see what tomorrow's round looks like. Evan Boyle with the hot round, 12 down, 10-23 rated. Great job. Chris also on the card. And a couple more familiar faces, Jason Tiligadis and Alex Nicosia. So tune in tomorrow to see the final round to the Cosmic Tranquilcyon Crosstown Tournament. I'm Dave Oster. Thanks for watching. Click that subscribe button if you haven't done so already, and we'll see you in the next hole.